So we've got a slightly different setup this time, but welcome to Bevvies and Books. Yay! So as you can see, slightly different setup. For anyone who didn't know yet, Lizzie and I live in the same house. And Lizzie's laptop cable is dead, so we are once on the same screen. And we've got two missing regular hosts today. One of them is on holiday, one of them seeing a show. So both the Hannahs are.
That was
one of the Hannahs.
One of the Hannahs just texted.
So they're both not here today, but Hannah from Ladette M and from Waypoint Books, she might join us later. And we have I don't know which side I'm on.
The right side.
That's the right side.
Yeah.
Wonderful host and co-host today, Bekka from the Book Sanctum, who you may have seen on the Skullduggery live shows and comics and stuff on your blog. You do a comic blog, right?
Yeah, I'm a comic blogger.
Nice.
Yeah, if you need to know any Marvel recommendations, Bekka is the one to go to.
Yeah.
Also, he will bully you as well to read Good Omens. So
yes.
It's on my TBR for next month.
Yeah, you got to read it. So good.
Yeah.
I'm reading it next month as well, actually.
Yeah, I had to read it for Gothtober because I was like, well, if there's any time to read this.
Yeah. And they're starting filming series 2, and I was like, Gothtober, series 2. This is happening. Don't care.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for season 2. Oh my god.
I've seen the show, so I do know some stuff. But yeah, I'm very excited to read it as well.
Yeah.
So excited to reread it for the 5th time.
Yes. It is. Yeah. It deserves a 5th reread.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I've got books that I've reread 5 times, and I would recommend them any day. So.
Yes, something we've worked out is Danny and I have very different reading tastes.
Yes, so the shelf behind us is mostly Lizzie's books, but then there's the occasional book that I have that's either very pretty and therefore needs to be displayed on the shelf, such as this copy of Empire of the Vampire that came in.
A Lima Crate. So spoilers if no one wants to know. Danny's head will.
I'll cover it again.
Cover it.
But yeah, so we have very different reading tastes. So you needed a book with a romance in it, or for Gothtober, she's reading.
Get a Life of Chloe Brown, which I have been avoiding like the plague, because I'm like, I'm not gonna like it, and everyone loves it. But I needed a book for
the disability
rep.
Yeah.
And I know that loads of people like shout about Chloe Brown and disability rep. But I've been avoiding it because I'm like, oh no, it's a romance. Yeah.
I've got non-romance books that are disability rep and on voices. So message me later. I have a couple.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That might be better, to be honest.
Well, I'm still going to try and get you to read that. But
yeah.
I'm just posting that we're live.
I've also got Chloe Brown audiobook as well, so I don't have to physically sit there and read it. I can put it on while I work.
That's what I do when I've got a book that I don't want to read, but I need to for a challenge. It's just audiobook ×2, speed through it.
Yes.
Pretend this isn't happening.
To be fair, this month's Bevvies and Books was a difficult one.
Yes.
I changed what I was going to read because I actually realised the book I was going to read, I didn't really want to read it anyway, but also at the same time, it wasn't organised crime, it was more true crime. So it didn't fit the prompt anyway.
Yeah, so for the prompt this month, it was organised crime, as you just said. And if you're joining us on the drink aspect of it, it was a martini because shaken, not stirred. So we thought that joining with the organised crime, a Bond and a reference would be fitting, as there's usually organised crime in those. And Lizzie and I have both gone for a porn star martini. So the main reason we could order a bottle of this that is meant for 8 people, and it was very easy.
It smells great though. It's passion fruit, and it's much nicer than a normal martini. Because I was originally not going to drink, and then Danny was like, "Oh, we can order," and I was like, "Okay."
You can order this. This might be fun. So yeah, this is meant for 8 people. As you can see, we filled it up like it's just juice.
Not like
Have fun with the hangover tomorrow.
Yeah, not like we both don't have work in the morning.
Oh, I've just tasted that. That can definitely taste the alcohol in that, but it's probably for the best.
I also have water. I'm staying hydrated.
I have Coke Zero and water.
Covering all bases. All
Mhm.
bases covered.
Exactly, yeah. So, we've all read different books, so hopefully we should be able to give you, 3 recommendations.
Maybe 4 if Hannah.
Maybe
does
4
get
if
here.
Hannah does show up, but she did message me that she was still stuck in London because she missed her train. So
Hannah.
she may just be popping up in the comments. So yeah, no. We have read 3 different books, and hopefully we'll be able to recommend them. I can already tell that mine's going to be half a recommendation because I don't know if I can, because it's not. We'll get to it. Do you want to start us off?
Me?
Yeah.
All right, wait a sec. I need to make sure I've got the right information before I start anything. I should have done this before we went live, but I didn't. So
We're so well prepared.
I'm really well prepared. Shit, why doesn't it tell me? It should just be there, right?
What? The receipt?
Yeah, there it is. Okay. So as I said, I changed what I was going to read, and I actually got approved for an e-arc for a sequel to a book, one of my favorite books from this year.
Last year, I think.
It was either last year or this year, which Danny and I both read in one day in a speed reading challenge. Don't know how it happened. It just did. We just both picked up the same book, and then we were like determined to try and beat each other. So I just about won, but that's nothing. So I read Our Violent Ends. Oh wow, you can't see a friggin' thing of that. Hold on. Wow, this is going great. Can you see it now?
Yeah, just about. I can read the title.
Yeah,
That's
all
all
you
it
can
is.
see. That's what it looks like. Which is the sequel to These Violent Delights.
I'm reading that next month, actually.
Well, this was probably one of my favorite books of whenever I read it. It might have been this year, it might have been last year.
I think it was last year.
Honestly, I can't remember. But it was brilliant. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling with political gangsters in Shanghai in the 1920s. And it's got some supernatural elements, which is really fun. But it basically follows Romeo and Juliet. Roma is a gangster with the white flowers, which is the Russian sect, and Juliet is the Chinese national sect of Shanghai. And it basically follows them trying to figure out what the hell is going on with a madness that spreads. I'm not going to talk too much about the sequel because the ending of this book is huge. But I loved it. The sequel was basically following on from the events of this one and the fallout of certain decisions that the characters made in this book. So you have basically Romeo and Juliet knew each other when they were 15 and they'd met and they didn't realize they were on opposite sides. Basically the same as they do in the play.
Yeah.
And then Juliet goes to America and she's sent away by her father to kind of learn. And then when she comes back, they meet again, obviously. And it follows the same sort of story beats that Romeo and Juliet has, but with added
drama,
monsters, essentially.
Nice.
And it's basically them teaming up to beat the madness that is spreading through Shanghai. And it's just so much fun. I don't know, Chloe Gong, this was a debut novel, and after reading Our Violent Ends, I can 100% say she's going to become an author that I immediately buy anything she writes from. Because she's so clever with her Shakespeare references. I mean, Romeo and Juliet is like one of the most well-known Shakespeare plays, I would say. And her references in both the sequel and this one was fantastic. There's LGBTQ plus representation in both These Violent Delights and Now Violent Ends, and I loved it. They were my favorite characters. So, I mean, okay, so we all know what happens to Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. The counterpart to Mercutio is a guy called Marshall CO, and his character arc is top tier.
Ooh.
And it's just clever. Everything about it, including every single name. It cracked me up though that everyone else had a different name apart from Juliet. Juliet and Rosalind had the same names, and also Benedict had the same name. It was just everything else. I was like, okay, yeah, so you've changed everything else. But it's essentially two rival gangsters, rival gangster gangs trying to take control of Shanghai. But the thing about Our Violent Ends is that it quickly turns very political, which is fantastic. I loved it. It was one of my favorite parts, actually. And it was and if you know Chinese history and the history of Shanghai, the setting of Our Violent Ends is very, very important in actual real life history. And it's focused on a very pivotal point in the Chinese government's decisions. And certain things happen. I can't say too much because it gives away the whole thing, so I'm not going to. But this whole thing comes out in next month. No, not next month. In November, the 16th of November. And I will definitely be buying a physical copy because I just need it. And the cover is stunning, and that just really helps. If you like gangsters, Romeo and Juliet retellings, and you like the idea of Shanghai and the seedy underground, like, definitely pick it up. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was one of those books that I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. You know, retellings are so hit and miss for me. And then I picked it up and I read it in a day. It was, and that was the original. That was like the first one, and then I'm really excited to pick up the second one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I got an arc of it, I was flabbergasted because I was like, no, because Danny had said that, I've been
rejected for now,
and I was like, oh, for shits and giggles, I'll just see. And then I got a copy of it, and I was like, oh my goodness, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just really glad I did. I gave it 4 stars. Certain aspects from Romeo and Juliet that I didn't really enjoy in Romeo and Juliet came into play in Our Violent Ends. So it didn't get the full 5 stars for that reason alone, but Chloe Gong is a very clever lady and a very clever writer. That everything else going on didn't mean that it dropped more than 1 star. And the extra characters that were in there were just great. I think there's a trans character in there, which is super, super cool. And it's just so good. Basically, it's in Chinese history. I'll just say it because it's just easier. It's about the communists and the nationalists and them clashing. And it's talking about the rival gangs and who's backing who. And it's so cleverly done. And when you look into the history of it and you look at, and when you're reading the sequel, you just think, wow, someone really does know what they're talking about. I don't know. Yeah. She's just very clever, and I love her writing, and I love her books, and the covers are both stunning.
Yes.
So I can't complain.
Is the romance quite a lot in there? I know you were saying you don't enjoy romance books, and I'm not good on romance either, but it's underlying.
Yeah. A lot of the big decisions these characters make, it's there.
Yeah.
There's a certain aspect of it that I didn't like at all. That was what dropped the 1 star, the 5 to a 4 star. But it isn't the forefront of either of the books, in my opinion. It's there because it's Romeo and Juliet. Like, it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
But it isn't what they concentrate a lot on. There's definitely the struggle, and what kind of hits the story off. Like it just everything goes from 0 to 100 real quick. But it's much more about the political stuff and about the relationships between other characters that drives the plot forward. And it's just so good. I could ignore the stuff I didn't really enjoy because it's from source material. It's not necessarily anything she's added in.
I think what she's done very cleverly in the first one is take the story beats and kind of the setup of Romeo and Juliet and then make it her own thing where yes, it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but it doesn't feel like one necessarily. It feels like a story all on its own. So if you didn't know Romeo and Juliet, you wouldn't lose out on anything. You would lose out on a few references, but
yeah, I think. Sorry, the cat has got her claw stuck and she's making the dumbest face. Anyway, yeah, actually in my review for Our Violent Ends was that she's done something really clever where it's still a very recognizable story, but she's made it her story. And Chloe Gong has written it so that it's recognizable Chloe Gong and not necessarily Shakespeare. There are a few really heavy-handed direct quotes from Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
The way she's used them works really, really well. And Danny's right about the setup in the first book. I think Our Violent End is more of where the Romeo and Juliet retelling really like hits home. And it is heartbreaking for different reasons. A lot of people are asking about the ending. Just read it and find out what happens because it's very clever. I don't know. It's really hard to describe because it is very recognizable as a Shakespeare retelling, but it's also not recognizable because Chloe Gong's worked really hard to make it her retelling of Romeo and Juliet. And if you don't like romance, it is there, but there is a lot of other stuff going on that kind of doesn't concentrate so hard on the romance.
Yeah, because that's my pet hate is when the romance completely takes over the story and the main character's caring more about which one is she going to pick and things like this. That makes me throw the book across the room.
No, there is
none of
that. There is none of that.
Brilliant.
There's a certain decision that she makes in the first one that has a ripple effect into the second one, and it's very much a I know what I want kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a bit of, but I can't have that because of these reasons. But it's also the same. The entire time I was reading this, I kept on turning to Danny and saying, oh my God, Roma is so melodramatic. And it is. He sometimes is so woe is me. It's fucking hilarious. But I also love it when it's the male pining because I'm like, yes, you will pine.
I don't know. For someone, I do like romance. So when I read the first one, I was quite pleased because it was for me it was a right amount of romance where it didn't overtake the story at any. It was a subplot. The romance was a subplot. I don't know. Is that the same in the sequel or is it?
It's there.
Does it get heavier or like?
Yeah, like there is. I mean, it's the core part of Romeo and Juliet. Okay,
yeah.
So it's not something that, for me, I concentrated on the massive political arguments and political kind of like undertext that was happening like the entire time, regardless of the situation. Like, yes, there is romance, but there is so many other things that is much more interesting that Chloe Gong kind of merged into everything. There's so many things that happen that you don't know because you haven't read the sequel, you've read the first one. But again, the first one I don't think was that romance heavy.
No, it wasn't.
To be honest.
No.
Because they spend the first like 5 to 10 chapters hating each other.
Yeah. I think the first book is really good for romance lovers because it's just enough to satiate a romance lover while keeping them interested about the other plot that's going on. Whereas if you're not a romance lover, it's enough. It's not so much that you get turned off by it. Haha, badooms.
That's awful. I'm not even gonna pretend to have laughing.
Yeah, no, at least that's how I consider.
The first book's mystery about the madness within Shanghai is perfect. Absolute perfection. Like, I liked the characterization of Roma. I love the characterization of Juliet. I like both of them as protagonists. I thought they were extremely well written. And I liked how headstrong Juliet is, like right until the end. Like her character and her stance doesn't change, which is the massive pet hate for me. Like if there's a romance, I don't like a wibbly wobbly female protagonist who goes back and forth on X, Y, and Z, because that's just frustrating, and that makes female like protagonists like all the same and a bit boring, which is why I don't really like many romances. But Juliet is like stands on her own 2 feet, knows what she wants, knows who she is, and gets what she wants. So it's just a lot of fun. I would say pick it up, give it a chance, because there's monsters, there's madness, and that's 1920s Shanghai, which sounds like an incredibly cool but incredibly dangerous, and you could just get murdered at any point.
Location.
That's not my kind of book.
But it makes me even more want to visit Shanghai, which sounds insane considering everything, but it just seems like a really awesome place. And it focuses a lot on like the river, and like the layout of the city is like super important in both the books. So yeah, pick it up. Just pick it up. Try it.
I can't wait until the sequel comes out.
I know.
And I did say, I'm going to steal your Kindle and I'm going to read your version. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait until the book comes out because I want to give it the honor and like the format it deserves.
Yeah, there was a bit of formatting issues on the Kindle.
Oh, what's the way?
As it goes with ARCs, though.
I know. That's why I'm going to buy a physical copy, so I don't have to read it on a Kindle again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I really want to read it now. But I wanted to read it anyway, but now I've just gone, yeah, I really want to read it. In the tones of Skullduggery Pleasant. Yeah.
Oh, don't. I'll get flashbacks. I've never even listened to the audiobooks, but I heard that clip and just cringed.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so fun.
When I was listening to the first few audiobooks of Skullduggery Pleasant, because that's how I listened to a lot of them, I loved it so much because it was just so out there. I was just like, wow, whoever sat in that board meeting when they were deciding to do the audiobooks, like you got that through a board of people and they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And when it stopped happening, I was a little bit like, oh, right.
Does it stop?
Yeah, they stop. I can't remember which one it stops in, but there's no longer any.
That's honestly disappointing. So I love it because sometimes between chapters it'll just do the and then I'm just waiting for the end, it doesn't come. And I'm like, this is anticipation. But yeah. Also I have a film I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I know it's really bad. Anyway, Bekka, what did you read?
I read a couple of mangas actually that could count for this. I had Spy X Family Volume 2 and also Tokyo Ghoul Volume 6. And I think Tokyo Ghoul had a bit more organised crime in it than Spy X Family, but I can mention either one, whichever.
What about
Both. Both is good.
Okay, then I'll start with Tokyo Ghoul because that had more in it. So I can't tell you fully everything because obviously it's volume 6 in the manga, but it's essentially based in Japan, as you would expect with a manga, and it's about a young boy who ends up in an accident and then gets the organs of a ghoul, which is like a flesh-eating humanoid monster human person, and it's sort of like he then becomes part ghoul and ends up being chucked into this world of the ghouls and trying to cope with the fact that he now can't eat normal food. He's craving human flesh and things like this while trying to appear normal. And it's sort of going through like this. And in volume 6, you then get the organised crime section of it because you've got this task force trying to keep the ghouls from killing too many people in all of the different districts and this kind of thing. And then you've got the underground lot as well, who are also trying to find another one of the characters from this series, but now can't find her because she used to be sort of like their gang leader kind of thing, and she just disappeared on them. And I've got to admit, Tokyo Ghoul isn't my favorite manga ever. I am very, very new to the manga genre. I've been reading Death Note, this one, and Spy X Family, and I've tried a couple of others, but they haven't quite worked for me. Tokyo Ghoul and Spy X Family are the ones that work the most, just at the moment for whatever reason that happens to be. But I've got to admit, I find the art style in this one slightly confusing because it's sort of like you're not quite sure what's going on in fight scenes for no apparent reason. And I don't know if that's just because I'm used to comics and the American style comics where you've got it in full color, and I'm just confused by the black and white or whatever, but it was ever so slightly confusing reading it, but I still did really enjoy seeing like this dark underworld to what appears to be a reasonably normal type world in the sense that there's just these monsters. But I did quite enjoy it. It did give me slight vibes of Not Even Bones. I don't know if you've ever read that one. Rebecca Schaefer. That one's really, really good. That's about a world where monsters are fully known, and this girl is what I'd call Wednesday Addams' perfect book, because it's about a girl who is a monster and her mother is a monster as well, but also hunts these monsters, brings them back, and has the girl dissect them so they can sell it on the black market.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible. I love the book so much, but it sort of reminded me of that in the sense that you've got this sort of underworld type idea of these people who are working in the shadows and like hiding what they're doing, and like obviously you've got this organ donation type thing going on as well. So I did quite enjoy that. I got to admit I've forgotten who half the characters are because getting these from the library means that I end up with like loads of gap between like reading them because the wait list is so long. So I sit there and go, wait, who are you? But it takes me a few pages to get into it. But it was quite fun in the end, I've got to admit. I am very interested to see how it sort of snowballs from here, because you've got like the organization who's like kidnapped them all, and then you've got like the organization inside of that organization trying to get them back out again and stuff like this. It was very, very interesting, I've got to admit. And then with Spy X Family, that one's possibly my favorite at the moment because it's about a spy who has to try and kill the headmaster of a school, but to do that he needs a child because it's a very prestigious school. So he adopts a child who can read minds, but he doesn't know she can read minds, and gets a wife who is an assassin, and he doesn't know she's an assassin, and she doesn't know he's a spy. And it's sort of like how they've become this family kind of thing and trying to infiltrate this school and try to appear normal at the same time, and how they're sort of desperately trying to manage this kind of thing. And I've got to admit, it's very funny because the girl knows what's going on because she can read minds. So she's like, oh, he's a spy, she's an assassin. And she's trying to help them along while being about 6. And it's like really, really funny in places and really quite clever how it's done. And I've got to admit, this one was quite fun as well, sort of like as they're trying to appear normal by going out to a aquarium for the day, and then he ends up on a mission while at the aquarium and ends up having to pose as like one of the penguin people who help out with the penguins, and he's having to try and like pretend that he's new on the job to try and get through this, and everyone else is going, where's he gone? Like, he was here 5 minutes ago, why is he gone now? And it's sort of like how he's sort of like having to run between the two, going appear normal, but get the job done kind of thing, and he's running back and forth against it. And I do find it very, very interesting. The character dynamics are really fun on this one as well, because obviously they're all lying to each other in some way or form. And so like you've got the assassin wife is trying to do her assassin thing as well, while also looking after the kid and adjust to married life and sort of all of this kind of thing. And you're also getting the little girl who's dealing with bullying in the school, and she's read the dad's mind, so she knows that she's got to be getting close to this kid, but this kid hates her and she's trying to get in with them. And it's really, really funny. I've got to admit, really good time. I'm only 2 volumes in, but I'm really, really loving it so far. And I've actually got the 3rd one on my phone at the moment, so I'm desperate to get to it right now because I just want to find out more immediately.
That sounds like the one that I would like.
Yeah, it is really good. Manga does take a little while to get into because obviously it's backwards to what we're used to, which is not fun for the dyslexic brain at all, quite frankly. But it is a really good one, I've got to admit. It is my favourite manga I've read so far out of the 4 or 5 series I've started. Like I said, I am relying on the library at the moment, and my library is rubbish for this type of thing. But that one is very good, I've got to admit. That one is definitely my favourite.
That whole like pretending to be 2 people at the same place really gives me Mrs. Doubtfire vibes.
Yeah.
Like, like being at the meeting with the boss and then running back and putting on the teeth and like going back and like pretending to be the nanny, and that's the vibe I'm getting, and that's one of my favorite films, and we quote it all the time. So I think I would like to.
Yeah, it's sort of like he's supposed to be like this greatest spy ever, and he's supposed to be like a master of disguise. So he's like constantly turning up in disguise in places and things like this. And you're like, oh wait, it's him again, because he looks so different. Because he's got all these prosthetics on and everything else, and then he's having to run off and quickly take them off again and go back to wherever he's supposed to be. And things like this. It is really good.
What's the color scheme? Is it mostly black and white like with mangas? Because I've only read
all of the mangas I've read so far are entirely black and white. The only bit that has color on it is the front cover. So all of it is black and white.
Oh, interesting. I really, really like Death Note, and I really like the setup of it. But I've not been able to bring myself to pick up any other mangas because I'm just so scared of them. Because I'm like, oh gosh, because I watched the anime of Death Note before I read the manga, so I don't know. It's a whole new thing for me, a whole new format. So,
well, I have never. The only manga I tried watching was Full Metal Alchemist, which was probably a bad idea because it's so long that it kind of put me off manga, like anime for life. I was just like scarred by it. But the mangas, I really quite enjoyed reading those because I'm used to comics because I read so many that it's just like, oh, it's just basically the same thing, just with less color kind of thing. And I do really enjoy them in places. I would say, though, don't read it on a Kindle if you can help it. Because it won't zoom in on individual panels, which means you're doing this to try and read it. And you're just like, I can't read this. So you can get it in physical format, if you can, because then you can just hold it to your face and read it properly without having to try and zoom in on a phone or something.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Which out of the series you've read would be the one you would definitely recommend to like newbies to the manga world?
I'd say Spy X Family, because 1, it's shorter, 2, it's still ongoing, so it's not like 50 volumes long at this point, so you're not crying looking at the shelves in Forbidden Planet, just like there's too many here. And I think it's only up to like volume 5 at the moment, so it's very, very new. But it's still like a really good one, I'd say, because it's not like overly sci-fi or anything like this. It's set more in like like our world kind of thing, so it's very easy to follow. So I would say Spy X Family is a great one to start with.
Okay.
Yeah. I also totally feel you when it comes to anime, because the first anime I tried to watch, Full Metal Alchemist, because one of my friends was really into it, and she was like, you need to watch it. And it got to that point where I've been told to watch it so many times that it just completely put me off. And then I tried watching Full Metal Alchemist, and I could just not get into it. But I that's also kind of put me off of like the manga side of it. But now I'm slowly getting into, like, I would say normal comics, but like Western comics. So the Marvel comics, and I've been reading Critical Role comics. And I'm really liking those. So I'm kind of like, okay, so maybe I should tip my toe in again and have a little look around and see. Maybe I do like it. Maybe I just got, the you need to read it blues.
In anime, I'd say start with Death Note, because it is a very well-known, very well-loved, well-made. It's the one that people know. But like the anime side of it, probably not the manga, because the manga is hella confusing.
I tried that.
But the anime is fabulous. It's a lot of fun. I also watched Attack on Titan, but I don't recommend that to anyone because of the controversy surrounding it. So
anti-Semitism.
Yeah, so definitely Google that before you look at it. But I enjoyed it until I realized how bad it was for those messages. But definitely try out Death Note for anime. I've not seen Full Metal Alchemist. I will never watch it just because I've heard nothing but not great things. So
I think Full Metal Alchemist is one of those where if you get into it at the right time, either when you're a certain age, or when it's just the right time for you, depending on where you are, then it's really good. But if you try it at the wrong moment for you, just don't try. It's not gonna do it for you. Which I completely get. There's a lot of a lot of media is like that, but like I can read a middle grade now and go, this is not made for me at my, you know, quarter of a century. But
oh, I love them though. I love middle grades.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
same.
no, but I can still love them. So, but that's the difference where sometimes I feel like, okay, this was obviously not made for my demographic, and I can feel it and it hurts. Whereas with some stuff like some middle grades, I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm still really enjoying it. Like the Tea Dragon Society was definitely like not made for my age range, but I absolutely love it because it's just so cute and adorable and makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
I had the same with Artemis Fowl because I read that 2 years ago. Must have been 1 or 2 years ago, and I was like 23 at the time, and I was like, this is too young for me, but I don't care because I'm having a really good time.
I tried Artemis Fowl, but it just didn't work for me. So I think
How far did you read into it? How many books did you read?
Just one.
See, I read the first one and was like, this is iffy. But once you get to the second book, because the first book's all set up, the second book, it starts getting really, really good. So I would say maybe give the second one a try.
I might. Yeah. I also did the audiobook because I just could not get through the physical copy. I had both. So I did the audiobook, which did help me get through it. It didn't grab me, and I was like, I think I might just be too old for this. Like I'm too old for this shit. But I think
whatever you do, don't watch the movie.
I was literally about to say it's very unfortunate because when I was living at home with my parents, my mum was like, "Oh, there's this film on Disney Plus. Can we watch it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I watched it, and I was like, "Well, this has put me off reading the book."
Well, I just read all of the books beforehand, and then I saw the trailer and went, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And then I just spent the rest of the day of release watching the hate comments roll in and just going, why have they done that?
The thing is, right, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I won't read Artemis Fowl because of the movie, but I also had the same thing with Percy Jackson, but the Percy Jacksons are still freaking fantastic as books. So maybe I should just get off my bias and read Artemis Fowl. Maybe.
Yeah, I would say they're really good. And there's now been a spin-off series as well about another set of the Fowl family. And that is really fun as well. Some people don't like it as much, but I'm enjoying it a bit more.
Okay.
Like being different.
Also, let's say hi to hello, Nico. Welcome. So we've already done a bit of talking. Lizzie's done her little bit, and so
I'm not offended. I'm not offended. It's all good.
And Hannah's here. Hannah's on holiday. How is your holiday going? Let us know because did you manage to get the VHS tape working? Is my question.
Yes, Hannah was here on Friday to Saturday, and we went to a board game cafe. They stopped on to us on their way on holiday, and I'm very jealous because they're in a cottage. But I'm not that jealous because they've only got a VHS player, which is hilarious.
This is why I bring a laptop on every holiday ever.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have a disk drive, I'm like, I've still got Netflix.
Yeah.
There is still access to the internet.
Yeah.
I can watch things.
Exactly, yeah. So they also have to deal with the fuel shortage here in the UK. It wasn't a shortage until people started panic buying that shortage.
Well, there were two providers that had fuel shortage. Only two. Everyone else was fine until everyone went, fuel shortage.
Well,
then they created it.
Put it this way. I live in a village, right? And we have a petrol station 2 seconds from where I am. And the entire high street was backed up all day yesterday. You could not get out of the village practically for a good 2 hours.
Oh no.
So many people were queuing. It was ridiculous.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is exciting. We ordered food today and we were like, oh yeah, let's order some food. And then for some reason, Uber Eats was like, nah, we don't have any drivers. And later I realized it might be because of the petrol shortage. Like people are like,
no, but the piss take about that is it turned up on a bicycle.
Yeah, so those are the people who are riding. But anyone on a moped or anything, or in a car, they might not do it because they can't get petrol.
Well, in my village, Just Eat and all the rest of them don't work because nobody delivers.
Mhm.
And they, like most restaurants as well, do not list themselves on here either because we're too far out. So we actually have to go and physically drive an order
Ugh.
to go somewhere. It is so annoying. So annoying.
I just think it's stupid, everyone who went out, because it's just like, we've still got 3/4 of the tank. And I was like, well, I ain't going. By the time we need to fill up, all of this shenanigans would have sorted itself out.
Hopefully.
We filled up after our mini break 2 days before the shortage started because we had 1/4 of a tank and we were like, thank God for that, but we've managed to get some fuel first. So we've got enough to last us for a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Well, our fuel has lasted us. We filled up 2 months ago?
Almost a month and a half.
A month and a half ago, and we've got 1/4 of a tank, well, 3/4 of a tank left because we don't go anywhere that merits really.
Same.
The Denset, like we both just travel in Oxford to get to work. It's like a 10-minute drive both ways, so we're quite lucky.
Well, we all work from home, so we are sorted on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Domino's delivery. What else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we went on the break last week, we were in the centre of a city, and I was like, there's 17 dessert places alone. What is this? I can't remember the last time I saw a dessert place in the flesh.
In fairness, if we wanted to go into town to get food, we'd have to walk because we can't drive in city centre of Oxford. So
it's only for like buses and taxis. So we can only get so far. So
I don't really fancy a 20-minute walk.
Yeah, and it's a 20-minute walk or like 15-20 minutes. 15-20 minutes.
Look, I have
short legs.
I'm at least a foot shorter than you. I have short legs. You have to walk at my speed because otherwise I'm running, and you know I refuse to do that.
It's quite funny. We've gone to the Chippy before where we were kind of running late, so I was there, like trying to put up a pace, and then I look back and I'm like, oh wait, no, I have longer legs. I have like a lot longer legs. I need to slow down. Which is great because my last housemate was the same height as me, and she was a speed walker, and I was the one who was constantly out of breath. So I do get it. Are you gonna go?
You're doing better than me. I have to, like, if I'm ever with anybody tall, I just have to learn to run. But I'm never with anyone tall, so it's fine because I don't go out.
Sorry, Lizzie just left to go annoy my cat.
Sorry, she had her little paws out and you can just see the feet.
The peats.
Feet.
And I know, and then I don't know what this was referring to. Was this referring to the fact that we still had like 3/4 of a tank left? I feel like that may have been what this was referring to, but I have no clue. I have no clue.
Idea. Could be anything.
Now, I guess...
Well, it's your turn now. Come on, chop chop.
I guess it is my turn. I am going to say... I don't think I can express my thoughts about this book without going into serious spoiler territory, but knowing you...
I won't read this.
And knowing that it's a smut, I have a feeling that you might not read it, Bekka.
No.
So I am going to go into full spoiler territory, and I have no regrets.
As a little bit of a calling Danny out here.
I gave it 3 stars.
No. The entire time, there were little things she'd talk about, and she'd say words, and then you had a load of notes that you said disgusting, but then had conversation where Danny said the smut was actually good. So I think a lot of her disgust was all bullshit. So
no, I was actually disgusted, but I read "Welcome to the Dark Side" by Gianna Darling.
Looks like great.
It looks. Oh yeah, it was wonderful. So good. And I will pull up my notes to this because I think I might need to read them out at some point.
Not that funny.
I think they're funny, and I will read them out. Leave me be. If I can find them. I can't find them. You're lucky. Anyway, so I read this book because I had no clue what to read for organised crime. I generally don't like books for organised crime. Like we said, this was not our month for like favourite genre or like trope.
Yeah,
or
and then the Hannahs, who actually had good books to read for this, aren't here.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, we can't make it. Rude. But yeah, no, it was so I figured I'd downloaded this book literally like 2 years ago when one of the booktubers that I follow, and I've forgotten their name now, and I hope I can remember it later on, had said this is one of the steamiest books of 2019. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read all the things. She rated it from like the 5 steamiest books of 2019. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to download all of them and I'm going to read them too. And I'm going to see if they are really steamy. And this one was the one that I think she said was either like the most taboo. And I was like, you know what? Might be interesting. Might be fun. Turns out it was too taboo for me. So the premise is that I am just going to full on tell you what happened. So if you are ever planning on reading this, don't. But also, I don't care. You might. So it is basically about this girl, Louise Lafayette, who is the daughter of the mayor in a small town, I think, of somewhere near Vancouver in Canada. And when she is 7, her family gets shot at by this kind of biker gang. And the first thing that happens, her dad ducks to the ground, and but instead of sticking with her parents, she sees this other biker who seems to her like a guardian angel, and whatever. And just instead of like doing the reasonable thing and jumping to the ground, like flattening herself on the ground and trying not to get hit by bullets, she just strides across this like fucking battlefield to this biker, who then takes a shot for her. And this man is, at the time when she is 7, he is 26 years old and has 2 children. And he also shoots someone. So he goes to prison for shooting someone in that fight. And she's still got a scar. But when they're both in the hospital, she goes to see him because he's like, he's my guardian angel. And then when she figures out he's not an angel, and he's like, I'm more of a monster. So then he becomes her guardian monster, which is cringy as shit. Yes. Like I said, I wasn't going to hold back on this one. And she starts writing him letters while he's in prison. Like saying, oh, you're my guardian monster. And oh, she's got a pretty bad home life. She's got a little sister. Her dad and her mum care more about the reputation and like being the mayor and like having this show of face. And she keeps writing him, and he's like, I shouldn't write you because it's fucking weird, but keeps going. And because he's writing with his 2 children and her so much, he gets the early like parole. So instead of like 20 years, it's down like 8.5. So by the time he gets out, they keep writing over the span of these like almost 10 years that he's in prison, to the point where like she doesn't know, she can't talk to her parents, so she starts asking him sexy questions, and he's like, oh, you shouldn't be asking me, little girl. And he comes out of prison, and she's decided that she wants to be a rebel. She's always been a goody two-shoes, going to church every Sunday, like doing what her parents want her to do, getting getting the high marks and everything. But she's decided, I don't want to do that anymore because it's boring and I want to rebel. So instead of doing like any normal person would do and get a piercing or something and like or get a tattoo at 17, she decides to go work at a strip club in town. She's not a stripper, she's just working at the bar, which she's 17. So that shouldn't be allowed anyway. Another fun fact is she had cancer when she was little. Like when she was like 9 years old or 7 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer. The reason that she was diagnosed is because she got that bullet wound, because that's how they figured out that there was something wrong with her. So this guy, whose name is Zeus, by the way, because why? Because of course,
That tracks.
talks her through and like kind of helps her with her cancer. And then when this biker gang comes back and he's back in town, they buy the strip club that she works at. Now she's got the hots for him, and he's like, I shouldn't do it because I've seen this girl. Well, I haven't seen her, I was in prison, but I kind of seen this girl grow up in front of my eyes, but I'm now hot for her. And it just, and then she like, and he's like, I'm not going to touch you. And she's like, no, he tells her that she can't touch him. And then she goes, I'll make you want to touch me. And like does all that, like basically does the Betty from Riverdale thing and does a pole dance to seduce him.
I love how uncomfortable you're just making Bekka and myself.
Yeah.
I'm kind of enjoying that I'm not alone here in my disgust.
And within like, you've seen Insta-Love, but this is like within like a fucking 48-hour period, they're basically married. Like they're not, but like he decides you're my woman now. She's a child. One. They actually have to go to the point of saying the age of consent here is 16. Otherwise, this book would have been cancelled. So they explicitly say that the age of consent is 16. But like he's kind of, and at some points he goes like, I've been waiting 10 years for this, which then insinuates that he's wanted to do this for like since he was 7. So the age.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Sorry, the nasty ass cat's outside again, and my cat's gonna yowl. So I'll be back. Blue, stop being a little drama
That
queen.
was a reaction. The book.
Who is it? Which one is it? Who's upsetting you?
I had a little heart attack just then.
Sorry.
But anyway, so yeah, she is now part of this biker gang, and like she's left her parents, but oh no, she's got a secret. The cancer's come back, and she hasn't told him because she's scared that if she tells him that her cancer's back, he's not going to treat her the way he normally would, which is by just fucking her really, and like being really, really rough. And but that's the thing. Nothing about the smut is taboo. Like, aside from the age gap, which is 19 years, which at any other point in their lives, like if they'd met when she was 7, then hadn't spoken for a full-on 10 years, and then met again and gone, you're the one who saved my life. I now feel like I have a connection with you, even though they haven't spoken. I wouldn't have had an issue with it, but the fact that they were so like close and she calls him her best friend when she's like 8 years old, that's when I go, ew.
Okay.
And he's got a daughter that's literally her age, and so she's 17, he's 38. The parents don't approve, obviously, as they shouldn't. And there's like this whole subplot about a rival biker gang and stuff, and it's a lot. But like the actual smut that is written is kind of fine because they don't mention her age in these like moments, but then the moment they stop and like they go, he constantly calls her little girl and like goes by her like childhood nickname, but during the sex scenes the writer did like obviously make a choice and go, I'm not going to mention that she's very young now, but the fact that he keeps referring to her as like the virgin and like all that stuff, and like it's very uncomfortable. I still gave it 3 stars because the writing wasn't actually that bad. Like the quality of the writing was fine. It was just the plot choices that were really fucking questionable. And I don't know. There's also like a different, like this is part 2 in a series and they're technically all standalones. And the first book apparently is about his son who hooks up with his older teacher. So I definitely think that this like author has a thing for statutory rape. and it's creepy. I still gave it 3 stars because for some reason I flew through it and it was an easy read, and like the writing, I quite liked the characters, but like the choices they made and the plot point was just very weird. So
It's okay if you liked it, Danny. Okay.
it made me very uncomfortable, but at the same time I couldn't. I was so hooked. Like I was so hooked, but I was so uncomfortable, and I
have a question for you.
Yeah.
If they're both consenting and it's above the consent, like the age consent, and nothing happens until they're over the age of consent, can you really call it statutory rape?
No, but you can call it grooming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, agreed. But the words you used, I felt were incorrect. Yes, I will talk about it, Hannah. Don't worry, it's coming. I was just gonna wait until the end.
It's coming.
All right. Don't you worry. I have it in the back of my head. As soon as you started talking about Smart, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I've got to talk about that because no one else is here who's read it.
But yeah, no, it was very interesting, and they actually have there's some character development that's quite interesting. Like the book's not complete garbage. It's just the fact that he's obviously groomed her is weird and makes it uncomfortable. But like I said, if that one aspect of the book where they've been in contact sending letters for so long had been left out, and instead they re-met when she was at the age of consent and he was older, and they kind of went, oh, you're the one who saved me, let's talk about this now and let's talk about what I went through and all that stuff, I would have been fine. It was the fact that he'd groomed her so much that made me really uncomfortable. Like the books itself is not awful, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten a 3 stars. It was like, I think it would have been a 4 stars, but then it was like a 2.5 bumped up to a 3 because I don't think it deserved a 2, but it definitely also really deserved a 3. So yeah, no, it was more of I was very uncomfortable the whole way through. And there's no LGBT rep. There is some, what did we expect? There's some racial rep in the fact that it's a bad guy. So is that good rep? Probably not. It's very much goes on the idea of, oh, here's a Mexican man who now is also like in the drug dealing business. Like here's a stereotype.
For God's sake.
And like, but he's not even that much in the drug dealing business. He's like the another Riverdale reference. The dad of
What the hell are you talking about? I have no idea where you're going with this.
You've seen Riverdale, right?
I watched it once and didn't enjoy it very much.
Oh. The dad of the black-haired girl, and I've forgotten his name.
Oh, Hiram Lodge. I know who you mean.
Hiram Lodge. He's basically Hiram Lodge. So, with but obviously doing deals with like the bad side of town and like hustling with the mayor and like threatening him and like, oh, this is like a great representation, obviously. Like, yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you like a taboo book, check out the author maybe, but like have a good look at this one because this one's just grooming.
I guess just look up trigger warnings if you want to pick out.
Yeah,
definitely.
Also, her cancer is a really big part of the story, which I do think that's done pretty well. Also, there's some autism rep in there, which I was surprised about. Like the main character, like volunteers at an autism like center, so she has like this one boy that she works with, and they do go into stereotypes, but they never make him seem incapable or there is something they do something there, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't have autism, so I can't really speak for it. But I do think that they tried there, and there's also like one of the gang members that is then kind of, oh, it clicks. This gang member also has autism, and they do portray both those characters very differently, but just with like a few like of the same aspects. So there is some interesting, like there was choices were made. I don't know how good of a rep it is. It's in there. Like it's one of those.
There was an attempt.
Yes, you tried.
I find it interesting when smart books put stuff like that in there. purely because I'm like, you know what you're doing anyway. I mean, like, are you really going to try and put a message in there? Like, I appreciate the trying, but is it in the right place? You know?
Yeah, but then I'm also like, if we say, okay, you can only be PC in a, this is like turning your word definitely, but like PC in a contemporary, that's only going to progress that much.
You know that wasn't what I was saying. Don't even try and make it sound like I was being an asshole. I really wasn't.
No, I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is like, I think that the attempt of that happening in smut books is quite good because that's just accurate. But same with, when Chloe Brown, it's not smutty. It's not that smutty. There's some references. But she's got disability in a romance.
Yeah, I know. It's I just find it interesting because there's a certain demographic.
Oh yeah.
For these types of books, right? Like there's a demographic for them.
Yeah, very specifically, my 55-year-old aunt, who has also read this book and rated it 5 stars, and she only reads smutty books, and it's really unnatural. Yeah, this is bad. But yeah, no, it was a weird one. I felt really torn on the rating because part of me just wanted to give it 2 stars because of all the grooming, and then part of me was like 4 stars because it was actually like the smut did what it wanted to do. But like, so I settled in the middle.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. I suppose I need to take on for the team because I find it interesting that Danny read that book and not the buddy read that myself and the Hannahs and Danny were supposed to be doing, which was Den of Vipers.
Oh, I've heard things.
Don't read it. No one read it. I will talk about it here though because I read it for this. So Den of Vipers. For one, the first. No one gave it above 2 stars. I'll put that out there straight away. First of all, I was very confused about the setting because I was convinced it was America until Hannah from the M was listening to the audiobook, which I still don't know how she did it. I still kind of work it out, but she told me that the narrators sounded like
Danny Dyer,
or at least the male protagonist sounded like Danny Dyer. So it's a British setting. I think it's supposed to be London, but the things they do in the book, how you can't get anywhere in a car in London, but they have
I'll leave that up because that's Hannah's like contribution to the Den of Vipers.
But yeah, they do like high speed like car chases through London as if London isn't gridlocked 90% of the time.
You can't drive London?
Yeah, I know, but they do at like 50 to 80 miles an hour, which is even more wild, like, and unrealistic. But this whole book was unrealistic. Like, nothing in it was good. So you had the main female protagonist was a girl called Roxy, who was estranged from her father.
Because he was a dick.
Because he was an asshole, and he was like, he wasn't a good guy. He beat her when she was younger. He was an alcoholic. Blah 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 blah. Very stereotypical. I'm not like other girls' story of I'm free. I'm a goth. I wear band tees, but just like no specific band, just band tees, and wears a lot of black. So she's goth and a badass because of it. And she has silver hair. Ooh. And she has nondescript tattoos. But basically, her father gets in trouble with the main gang, which are the Vipers. And instead of murdering him, her dad's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to sell you my daughter in exchange." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
Wattpad.
Yeah, I don't know if it was on Wattpad.
Don't know, but it sounds like a Wattpad.
I don't know is the answer. But so they send some thugs over to collect her, and she ends up beating them up. Still don't know how, but she does. And then the main Vipers Kate come and get her, and she beats them up, but still ends up getting captured. And they're all the stereotypes of like gangsters. These men, they're like, you've got the misogynistic, like broken man who's like the bouncer type who like gets into fights and everything. Then you have the Christian Grey, as I call him. Then you have the slimy best friend who's just kind of there. And then you have the absolute psychotic motherfucker. I think that's all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Roxy goes, she's like a fucking flip-flop of she's gonna fight them. Oh, but then I want them to fuck me. Oh, I want to fight them, but I want them to fuck me. Oh, I hate them, but I want them to... It's a whole mood. And of course, she goes through this whole hell. She tries to escape. That doesn't work. The first sex scene is non-consensual and it's really uncomfortable, and it's why I don't like the slimy best friend, because he's considered the nice one. No.
Isn't he the only person who actually rapes her?
Yeah, it is. But she liked it.
He's the ultimate, the nice guy. I'm a nice guy.
He is, but she like, I don't know, there's something just wrong in every aspect. And you've got the psycho. There's like loads of very disturbing sex scenes with like, there's a scene with a knife where he puts the handle of a knife up her butt and then impales himself on the knife. It's shit like that like it just goes too far. It's just a wild fucking ride. And the plot for a while, the actual plot of like the undertext, if you take all the sex away, was kind of interesting. Like there was a whole subtext of like the gangsters and the politics of them trying to take over their city. There's a rival gang and like trying to work out who it was. They had a leak, etc., etc. It was all very obvious what was going on, but it was good enough for me to be like, okay, well, I'll keep reading it then. And then it got to that end, so that plot kind of wrapped itself up. And then the book kept going for another 200 pages for absolutely no reason. This was a 650-page book, and I still don't know why. Oh, and there's copious amounts of gangbangs too. No, there was one gangbang, and it was very weird. It's a weird aspect.
Two of them are related. Two of them
two of them are actually brothers. We had a very important information about what was incest and what wasn't. It's a wild book.
It wasn't good.
I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say if you want something that's really fucked up.
I think my book's better than that.
Well, if you're into it, right? I'm not going to kink shame anyone because everyone's into something, but like it wasn't for me. The writing wasn't that good.
The writing was bad. That's the reason I pitched it. I tried. I started and I got to like 12%.
But anyone who's kind of into fucked up stuff and enjoys like a wild, crazy ass ride, like fine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, to be honest. It made me very uncomfortable, and I had a massive vendetta. Like, this character, so the creepy nice guy is called Kenzo, and then you had the misogynist Garrett. And normally I wouldn't like the misogynist, but I liked him more than I liked Kenzo, because Kenzo was a creepy motherfucker. But that's about all I'm going to say about Den of Vipers, because I don't want to give it any more airtime, because it's trash.
Oh, the one thing I want to say is that the psychopath was the most subtle character in the book, because I mean he was an arsonist called Diesel.
Yeah.
So
wow. That wasn't his real name though. I now can't remember his actual name.
I know,
but I know it cracked me up when I found out.
Cade.
Oh, Cade. That's what it was. I was like, oh well, Diesel the better name. I can see why you fucking changed it.
It was just
so Americanized names as well.
Yeah. That's why I was confused. I was like, why is it set in the UK? No.
Like Garrett. Okay, Garrett's the British name. Then you've got Ryder. Do you know any British people called Ryder?
With a Y.
With a Y. And Kenzo, which is like, no, it's not really a name you come across here. And then Diesel. is the name he chose, but Cade is the name he had. This author was also not. She wasn't British, was she? No, she was American.
I don't know. I think she is British, actually.
Oh.
And if you look on her Instagram page for K.A. Knight, her Instagram page is wild. She writes the same book. Like, all her book covers and all her book synopses are exactly the same. Just with name changes.
Also, it was Case.
Oh, Case.
Because we weren't sure if it was Case or Casey.
Yeah, I thought it was Casey, but...
And I thought it was Case.
Because I've heard people who are called Casey. I've never come across anyone called Case, but that might just be me.
But yeah, so it was just, I didn't get past 10%. And it was like, we're going to buddy read it for this thing because we're like, oh, then at least we'll all have read one big smutty book. And then Danny will come in with her smutty book. And then after that, we'll have normal books. Turns out Hannah couldn't make it. So now it's been 50-50 on the smut.
It was like... It was quick to get through. That's all I can say that was good about Return of Vipers. Like, up until the point that it was just, like, crap that didn't need to be there. Like, I could have forgiven it if it was just copious amounts of sex. I could have just been like, okay, fine, we're in an erotica, like, whatever. But then it wasn't. And I was just like, why? Why is this still going on? It could have finished, like, 150 pages ago. Oh, and it was the epilogue was the worst part of it. By far. The epilogue didn't need to happen in any way, shape, or form. No one asked for the epilogue. And I'm going to say it because I don't want people reading it. But it ends with her marrying all of them, as if that's a legal thing that can happen in the UK.
Also, two of them are, can I remind you, brothers.
But they're not in a relationship. They all just marry her, and she's still... Yeah. There's only one time they all share her, like, properly.
How?
Yeah, they kidnap a judge. For no reason. Then they kidnap her from her bar that she then gets back because they're like nice and they give her this empire of bars to run. I don't know. And they put her in a car and then they say, oh, you're marrying us. And she's like, okay, cool. And the judge is like, that's not legal. And then the judge gets a gun put to his head and said, no one asked you. Then they marry her. The logistics of it is great.
But same thing happens in my book because every smutty romance somehow needs to end in a marriage. So my Louise, who goes by Lou at the end, which is confusing because Lou, in my opinion, for me sounds like a man. Lulu is, they do call her Lulu as well. So, but she's like gotten so ill because of her cancer, and like kind of gone missing and whatever. And so then Zeus comes to her bed and says, I want you to marry me. And she's like, but I'm 17, I can't. And then her mum comes in and says, actually, yes, you can, because I will give my permission. Her mum has not seen eye to eye with this man for the entire book. And
can you just take the level of shouting in my ear?
Sorry.
Just down a little.
Sorry. But also her grandfather is a pastor. And the grandfather is
a pastor? Like a food?
Shut up. Pastor. Just
say priest and just...
Priest. The grandfather is a priest. And he's like, yeah, I'll marry you.
Like hell.
Sorry, what? Because apparently while she was sick and she was in a coma for like 8 days, induced coma because of she had smoke inhalation and because she was already very sick, whatever. He went to church every single day and prayed for her to get better. And of course it was a church that her grandfather ran. So her grandfather was like, he's got a heart. And I'm like, yes. Yes, he's also been to prison. And you know how many people in prison find Jesus? Because that's like one of the few books they have access to. I'm like, I have doubts. And then she graduates and like the entire gang is there. And they're like, oh, my girl's finally a high school graduate. I'm like, yeah, but she's the age to be a high school graduate. So it's not as cute as you think it is. Like if it was like, oh, she's 30 years old and she never got to finish her like she never got to finish high school. She never got to graduate because of hardships. and she's gone back, she's gotten her diploma, and then like, oh, I'm so happy my girl's finally a graduate, like being like proud of her because of that. But like they made it out to be this massive thing, like, oh, she's so amazing. Like,
Okay, hard disagree. Hard disagree. Good that their parents are proud of her for getting her degree.
No, not her parents, the gang.
Oh yeah, I mean your friends are proud of you. Good. They might be a fucked up friendship and fucked up relationship, but at least they are proud of her. Because no matter what age you are, if you're 30 or the actual age, hard work.
Oh no, but they made it out to seem like it was like I don't know. It was really weird the way she wrote it. It was like because she was like it. She's a graduate now, but
I don't know.
My girl's finally a high school graduate. Yeah, she's 17. She's meant to be a high school graduate. Like,
yeah, but so I have a personal experience with this where I have a friend who's got Crohn's disease. So her whole schooling has been fucked up. She's younger than I am, but she did her everything. She's still doing a degree now, because she's had to do it over multiple more years than she needed to. And when she got her exams for A-level, which is secondary school, yeah, fuck yeah, we were all proud of her because she finally fucking did it. Because she was in and out of hospital the entire time. Like, that shit is hard to do. You know? Like, and she was the right age to do it, but it was fucking hard for her. She was in and out of hospital. I think that's where I'm coming from, because it's...
Yeah, no, it was just the way it was written that it seemed very, like, odd. It wasn't, like, if they put a focus on that, but instead it was more of a, you're a graduate now, we were already married, but at least you're a graduate now, so now you're, like, it seems more legal that we are together. That's the vibe it gave off, instead of going... You've gone through such hardships. You've graduated. I'm so proud of you. Instead, it was more of a, you've graduated, so now it's not as weird anymore that I'm married to a teenager. That's the vibe I got, which was just a lot.
Fair.
Yeah.
The last layer of creepy on an already creepy book.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't read it anyway, but I just needed to say that, like,
no,
if
that's
people are going
fair.
through shit, and even though they're the same, like, they're the correct age, like. Yeah.
But that's fine. Like, I'm 25. I haven't finished my degree. I dropped out in year 3 out of 4 because I was depressed and I didn't like what I was doing. So I'm not someone to like judge that. It was more of the context that they'd put it in, where it wasn't about, you've gone through so much shit. I'm so proud of you for getting through this. You're so strong. Instead, it was now it's not as weird anymore that I'm sleeping with someone who's still in school, and I'm 36. That was the context.
Yeah,
but I should have probably made that more clear.
Yeah,
still gross.
Yeah,
still gross.
I still think Den of Vipers was probably worse.
Yes, I agree.
There were talks about children as well with Den of Vipers, and it's like, no, don't do that.
She's pregnant in the epilogue.
No, she isn't.
In
yours. Okay, right. Okay, you need to say.
Sorry.
Like, that was confusing, dear.
Sorry. There's also a cat prowling around me.
But enough of smut.
Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Horror.
Well, has anyone got anything else to say before we wrap everything up? About their books or about anything that is going on anywhere else?
Just that my cat was showing some ass and I didn't want... I'm so sorry, baby. That was my fault.
Well, if anyone wants any comic book advice or anything really, Bekka is great for that. You've got a blog where they can find you. Are you talking specifically about comic books?
Yeah, it is the comicbooksanctum.com, and I generally focus on like each new episode is film as they come out. I try to give like recommendations around that character or like Easter eggs for comic books and recommendations and that kind of thing. And then when nothing is airing, I generally give reading orders for big events because they're very confusing and very long. It's nice to have a list.
Yes.
Fair. No, that's really exciting. I'm going to check it out because I want to get more into comics. So expect lots of messages from me.
Cool.
Oh, Hannah's contribution was that she read The Godfather and it was only okay. And
Hannah gave it 3 stars, if I remember.
And then she said it was probably controversial. What I've heard is that the film's really good and the book's not that great, but even the film is one of those, you've got to sit through it because it's like a cinematic masterpiece, but it's also like really long and kind of boring. But like, you sit through it, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, so yeah, 3 stars probably.
Yep.
So next month, our theme is horror, and I've forgotten.
Zombie Brain is the cocktail.
Zombie Brain is the cocktail. I don't know what's in it.
No clue. Probably blue curacao though, because it sounds like something that would have blue curacao in it.
Yeah, probably. So, what are you reading for that?
Well, I went to Waterstones on Friday, and I picked up a new graphic novel that is in the horror genre, and it looks really cool. So I'm going to read Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, and it looks like it's going to be super creepy. So there's like a non-spoilery page. It just looks super fun. And I don't read a lot of horror, like actual horror, so we will see.
Yeah, apparently they got Father Writ Like a Memoir, which is a fair. Yeah, so I'm also going to read that when she's finished with it, but I won't be talking about it on the live because we try and talk about different books every month. And I'm going to read Horrid by Katrina Leno. And I don't actually have no clue what this is about. I got it in a box. I don't know which one it is. Owl Crate box ages ago, around last October, I think. And I still haven't read it, and I've heard like mixed things about it, but I also have no clue what it's about, so I'm quite excited.
Is there a Rapunzel going?
I don't know. So it says.
Sorry, I just looked at the back, and there's like a massive long braid on it.
Maybe. So on the back it says, Jane's fingers were numb. Was she ready to admit now that she believed in... The word was still so hard to say. It was silly and childish. His white sheets with eye holes cut out and grainy pictures of disembodied heads and bumps in the night when you're home alone, all tucked in bed and frozen in fear. I can't speak today. Ghost. And that's just like a little snippet. And then
You don't need to read it all.
it just like the little says, is it grief, mental illness, or something more horrid? So that should be horror-y enough for me. I don't read horror. I'm a wimp. So I'm curious to see if I like this. But I do kind of want to start this really soon. I'm also participating in Gothtober, which is hosted by Ali and Hannah from That's M, and I've forgotten the last name.
So the hosts are Hannah, Trish, and Olivia, who are then have a bunch of stuff. I don't know of other people also on those teams. But yeah, go look at Hannah's thing about that because I'm not good at explaining stuff. Yeah, and neither are you. So
there's 3 teams, and each host has a different team assigned to them. So I think it's Demon, Death, and Angel, and I'll be joining on with the Death team. It's not
a team.
Death's not really a team. Death is like the in between of doing a bit of both.
Death are the people that can go in and like fuck everything up because no matter if you want to back the Angel team one time you can, and if you want to back the Demon team you also can. So you can really play the team, you know.
Yeah.
Play the field.
Play the field. Also, there's lots of most of these books that we'll talk about will be available on Waypoint Books, which is Hannah's Ledith M's shop. She's an indie bookseller, so go check her out. It will be in the link in the description. And there's also lots of Gothtober stuff. So there's mugs and no,
there's subscription boxes. There's
boxes.
So shush. What else you're gonna no?
I say nothing.
It's alright. I got you. Don't worry.
There's boxes with fun stuff and they're themed. And you can also check out Olivia's candle shop.
No. Becca's
candles.
Oh my
I'm
god,
so...
Danny. Right.
Oh,
Becca from the books, as in Becca from the Bookoplathon that's going on this month, has created some candles because she's also helping out with one of the teams. I'm not going to tell you which team because I don't honestly know. I can't remember because there's a lot of people involved. But she's created some candles for each team. I believe they may have all sold out, but I know that Becca's going to be doing a restock because I want to get my hands on the death candle because it's the only one I haven't been able to get my hands on.
Yeah.
So check that out too. It's great. And talking about this, Gothtober is there's loads of live shows and stuff going on over October, meaning this live show for Bevvies and Books will be 1 week earlier because we don't want to be streaming on Halloween night so that we can be involved with the Gothtober stuff that's going on Halloween.
Yes. So that's a little promo there. I'm really excited for it. I kind of want to start my reads for Gothtober now because one, I've got a lot, and two, I really want to get into spooky season now. So I might actually do that and just cheat. Yes, Horrors and Through the Woods. And Hannah is saying that she'll be back by next month, and hopefully we'll be picking up The Woman in Black by Susan Hill.
Yeah. So we'll be on live on the 24th of October to talk about all those books. Em will not be here, but I'm sure we'll have another exciting co-host. But we will see. But thank you very much, Bekka. And I'm really excited to get you back on at some point.
Yep, definitely will be.
Yes.
So yeah, that was us for this time, and I agree with Hannah. It should always be spooky season, and I think with that we're gonna go and see you next month, 1 week early on this channel. So the 24th of October at 7 p.m. BST on right here. Right.